changing, we're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more complaining people. Their lives are changing, we're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more.
I want to talk to you about some phrases to get rid of. I realize that there are a number of things that I often say in my head, which are habitual, and I'm sure you've got similar experiences, things that you have said and that you consistently say to yourself, which are limiting your ability to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish and be the kind of person you want to be. They limit your performance, these phrases. They also diminish your joy. They keep you caught in a loop of struggle. So I realized that one of the phrases that I use often in my own head, believe it or not, is I'm scared to death. I don't know where I came up with that. I think that it was just a way of conveying whenever something important needed to be done or something like that, something unusual, something atypical, something I didn't feel like I was ready for, a match for. I use this term, I am scared to death. And I say this in my mind. And it's kind of surprising how often I do this. And I realized that as I was working on the Develop Your Potential 2021 event, that as I was beginning to do the interviews, et cetera, I would catch myself going, man, I am scared to death to do this interview with this person. I went, why are you scared? Number one. Number two, why to death? Don't you think that's a bit extreme? I grew up in a family of extremes. The only way to get noticed was to have an extreme situation. So as a result, I always had an extreme situation. Because of that, I spoke to myself in ways like I am scared to death, et cetera, which is just simply not true. One of the best things that I'm finding to do is that if I catch myself saying these things, first of all, I realize they're not neutral. And second of all, to realize I'm the one saying these things to myself, that these are things that I have been saying to myself habitually my entire life, usually. There's another one that I say so often. I can't seem to get myself to. Do you ever say that to yourself? I can't seem to get myself to whatever, go to the gym, eat healthy, take a walk, play with the dog. I can't seem to get myself to. The way I tend to use it, believe it or not, is I bought myself a drum set. And to me, I'm not a drummer. I'm not interested in playing in a band, but I do like to play from time to time. And sometimes I look at my drums and I go, oh, I just can't seem to get myself to play the drums. That's not true. I can get myself to. It's just I don't really feel like it. So it's totally okay not to do it. So the phrases that I struggle with in my head are things like, I'm scared to death to do whatever. And I just realized that about a month ago. I say that to myself. And I think it's still an attempt to get attention. It's something that if this is scaring me to death, then I can share it with my daughter or with whomever and get attention. And it's simply a way of limiting what it is that I might succeed at in life. I'm scared to death. The other ones that I often use, like I said, is I can't seem to get myself to do X. One of the things I've started to do is if it is indeed something important, I don't struggle too much with motivation. I don't struggle too much with getting myself to do things. I know where it is I want to go and I know how I want to live. However, what I do sometimes struggle, like getting myself to go to the gym, and I use things like, I think about that. I can't seem to get myself to go to the gym. that is such that has so multitudinous layers of victimhood layered on top of it. I can't seem to get myself. That's crazy. Teddy can't seem to get himself to do something. Of course, that's silly, my dog. I'm just saying that people say this. I can't seem to get myself to do X. And the key is the only way to do it is to follow the old Nike commercial. And that is, if it's important to you, just do it. Just do it. The more you push yourself to do something that you don't believe you can do, the more you begin to believe you can do it and the easier it becomes. For me, it's so many little things. Not being able, telling myself, oh, I can't get myself to do this. I can't get myself to go to the Caribbean Club to have a drink at night and walk 2 doors down and go have a drink at the Caribbean Club. I sit here and watch TV. Can't seem to get myself to do it. The question always that I think about now, Wayne Dyer put it so well. He said that if other people are, responsible for your happiness or for your success, send them to me, him being Wayne Dyer when he was a therapist. He said, send them to me and I'll fix them and your life will improve. Well, see, that makes absolutely no sense. You are in control of your life. You are in the control of the choices that you make. You decide what you can and what you cannot do. And it's amazing how we think that these thoughts that go on in our head are just, they're neutral. They're not going to impact our lives. Well, they do impact our lives. They impact our lives greatly. So I want to invite you to become more and more aware of the things that you tell yourself and the excuses that you tell yourself. I'm not good at X. Well, if it's important for you to be good at it, you can become good at it. No matter what it is nowadays, there's somebody out there who's giving you suggestions on how to improve, your motivation, on how to improve your performance, on getting yourself to do things. So when we start with this excuse-itis, the excuse-itis always begins in our own head. I love Dragan, who is my new producer. His name is Dragan, came up with this thing: scared, never, failure, wrong. These are phrases that we have in our head. And success, fearless, brave, positive. Those are words that we want to have in our head. Success, fearless, brave, positive. The other thing is that when we make a mistake, and we all make mistakes, this idea of punishing ourselves, it's all tied up together. We don't use the term often, well, I'm going to punish myself. But instead, what we do is we say nasty things to ourselves, about ourselves. We say things that are upsetting and hurtful to ourselves, and things that are not going to make our lives any better. Instead, we need to immediately forgive ourselves for what we've done. It's over and done. If we can do anything to make amends for what we've done, like apologizing or making things right, then certainly we should do it. However, otherwise, we just shake it off. Sometimes I do this. I think about a favorite TV show or a movie, and what if the character, one of my favorite characters, had done something similar to what I had done? And I think, they would ultimately shake it off and forgive themselves. Well, that's exactly what I want to do, rather than carrying that upset around with me in my head. And that's what I invite you to do as well, to just let go of these phrases that run through your head. First of all, become aware of them. You've probably got your own unique phrases that run through your head that limit you. Scared to death, like I said, is mine. And also, this will never work. That's another thing that I find myself saying in my head. Believe it or not, I do. I know people consider me to be a very positive person, and I am. And what I'm saying is that even in that kind of a mental state, we still can be negative. We still can be judgmental. We still can say things, and those things just loop through our brain. And what we often do is we say, well, I say this to myself because I'm repeating what my father said to me, or I'm repeating what my mother said to me, or something like that. And rather than doing that, what we want to do is to give ourselves new voice in our head, a new voice in our head. We need to say to ourselves what it is that we need to hear. Those thoughts that run through your mind, they are not neutral. No thoughts are neutral. And the ones that you encourage to stay by repeating them over and over in your head, those are going to be very, very destructive if they're negative. This idea of, I'm scared to death to try. It was such an awakening to me. And it happened about 6 weeks ago as I was really getting into the recording of the videos for Develop Your Potential 2021. I was telling myself, I'm scared to death to interview this author because they're so much bigger of an author than I am. Why would I be that way? Why would I want to bring scared to death energy? One of the favorite phrases that I like to run in my head, and I've shared this with you before. It's not unique, of course, but I simply just say, I got this. I got this. I got this. Whatever it is, I got this. Well, then my ego mind goes, yeah, but what if this? I got this. I just keep saying, I got this. I got this. I got this. And so we don't want to not only indulge those negative thoughts that we have, and I'm sure you have your own. It's not that you just don't want to indulge them. You want to find counter thoughts that you replace them with whenever those thoughts come to your head, and to be aware of them. That's the hard part. I can never do this, or every time I try this, it goes wrong, or whatever. The thoughts that you just keep telling yourself that are negative, those are phrases you need to release. Funny, I'm 6 foot tall, 5'11, 188 pounds. And what moves me, this big body, is this little brain. This little brain's beliefs, this little brain's thoughts about me determine who and what I experience, who I meet, what I do, and what I experience in my life. My brain makes the determination. It's not life, it's not circumstances, it's not my body, it is my brain. It decides whether or not I'm capable of doing something. It decides whether or not I'm confident doing something. And it also decides whether or not I'm scared to death doing something. I realize now that I grew up in such a loud, angry, crying, dramatic family, and that I took that out into the world thinking that that's the way life is supposed to be. And it's not. Life is supposed to be far more relaxed and far easier than my family made it seem. But I've carried that baggage in my head, and that baggage repeats in my head. This will never work. I'm scared to death. I can't do this, etc. And we cannot indulge those words. Many times I have tried to train people to do something, whether it's juggling to speaking on stage. And people will say things like, oh, I just don't believe I can do it. And I usually like to respond with, well, if you don't believe you can do it, why am I wasting my time trying to teach you? Because the first thing you've got to do is to believe you can do it. If you don't believe you can do it, and if you're going to discount it, then you're not going to be successful. You have to be willing to be bad at something before you're good at something. And so if a person believes that they honestly can't do something, I'm wasting my time by trying to get them to do it. So I want you today to become aware of the phrases that run through your head, the words that run through your head that limit your experience, limit your capacity to achieve, and also just make you feel crappy. Because what we want to do is we want to feel good. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want to feel good about our lives. And that comes from telling ourselves that we got this, that we can do this, that we are able, that we are capable, that we are loved, that we are lovable, and to argue with those phrases in your head, to shout them down, to tell them the truth, to speak the truth about yourself, even if you don't believe it in that moment. Speak the truth so that it ultimately will become your truth.
No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint